Hello, Varlets. When it comes to difficulty in Darktide, Malice is the great filter of player skill. Those who haven't gotten the basics of the game, like dodging and blocking down pat, will find Malice a struggle, and those who haven't polished their fundamentals, game sense, and have a thorough understanding of their class, will find themselves being constantly kicked back into Malice from Heresy. This is the Malice Trap. In this video, I have compiled a list of the top 10 mistakes I see players in Malice doing that you could learn from, and hopefully help you break through the filter. With each point covered, my psyker, Isaac, will be there to give you some tips and things you can work on to overcome the mistake. In no particular order, the list begins with number 1, not using your fundamental skills enough. Players new to the Tide series of games will probably still be learning how to incorporate dodging, blocking, and pushing into their gameplay. So if you're still new to this game, don't worry too much about it. Often, just remembering you can use these moves will probably take getting used to. However, if you've been struggling in Heresy because you're going down a lot and have to go back to playing Malice, you might want to ask yourself, are you effectively weaving these 3 fundamental actions into your gameplay? Because in Heresy and Damnation, incorporating these moves into your combat should feel as natural as breathing, because that's what it takes to survive here. Number 2, getting greedy on the attack. Following closely with not weaving the basics into your gameplay is getting greedy when you're in combat. This is when you take unnecessary damage because you opted to keep mashing the attack button to get an extra shot or an extra hit off, instead of either dodging or blocking. Sometimes this isn't your mistake. An attack that should have staggered an enemy didn't, and you end up getting hit in the face. It happens. While doing this on Malice isn't the biggest mistake you can make, it can become a problem when you start trying to do the same on higher difficulties. Often, I see this behavior in Heresy where within the first minute or so, the combat greedy teammate has already taken close to 50% of their health on clearing adds. Number 3, lack of situational awareness. Darktide is an enormously fun game to play on repeat because while the maps are the same, mostly, the situations you can find yourself in at any moment can change. One moment, everything is smooth sailing or a walk in the park, and in 10 seconds or less, the situation turns around with a horde spawning, an armored patrol being aggroed over, and a monster strolling up at the same time. These are honestly the best moments in Darktide for me, because it really tests your ability to respond to changes. And so, situational awareness isn't just one thing, it's a combination of different factors going on at once, and how you choose to respond and the approach you take usually becomes a barrier for your skill level as you try to move up the difficulty. This mistake usually corrects itself as you gain more experience in the game dealing with different situations. So while it's not something you will be able to directly influence, the first step to improving your situational awareness is to be aware that it's something you can improve upon. Number 4, choosing the wrong targets. There are 2 parts that goes into becoming a veteran on Darktide, playing on Damnation like it's nothing. Number 1 is combat ability, which we'll go in depth about in another video. The second thing is knowing how to position yourself to control the situation and turn it into your favor. To this second point, practically all non-ambient enemy spawns, these are enemies that have spawned in an area already, are either designed to place you out of position or to punish you for it. Bulwarks and crushers are there to force you to move out of your cover or give up your advantageous position, as does a monster spawn like a Beast of Nurgle or Plague Ogrin. Gunners and Reapers will punish you for being in the open without cover. Snipers will limit your movement options as long as it's looking down your way and punish you for your lack of awareness. Bombers, Flamers, and Demon Hosts can cut off pathways and force you into suboptimal positions. All of these enemies are here to do one thing, force you to focus on them so that Disablers, Elites, and Hordes can swarm you while you're out of position. For this reason, knowing which enemy poses the greatest immediate threat before more enemies can appear and then taking them out as soon as you can often makes the difference between a smooth game or a frustratingly painful one. In the higher difficulties, this is one of the key distinctions between a player that can hold their own and one that will burden the team with misplays. Of course, as we have just talked about how important positioning is in this game, this next point follows closely, and that is number 5, not sticking with the team. I don't think there's very much to say about why this is a mistake, and is definitely a sign of a player that isn't ready to take on the higher difficulties yet. The developers have even built a mechanic that rewards you for staying close to the team. Toughness regeneration and coherency bonuses. You literally become better when you're near allies. And short of having to split from your team because you're luring a monster away, the only acceptable time when it's okay to split is when you're looking for books or materials. But even then, make it a point to move around in pairs so you can save each other from disablers. Number 6, impatient to advance. Darktide missions can take a good deal of time to accomplish, especially on the higher difficulties or during high intensity modifiers. This can often push games into the 20-minute or 30-minute space per mission, and so some players are tempted to try and rush through a mission just to save a handful of minutes, which of course makes the mission harder for everyone else as rooms are left uncleared, enemies are aggroed and pulled too early. This is made even worse if teammates are trying to look for books throughout the map or just farm resources as well. Can you complete a mission while running ahead of your team and generally making everyone else's life harder? Sure you can. Are you a player I would like on my higher difficulty runs? Nope, absolutely not. While this behavior is less punishing on Malice, it's definitely a bad habit to cultivate as you try to break into the higher difficulties, because up there, slower, more tactical advances are the way, and so a relaxed 20 minutes is often much better than a stressful 16. Number 7. Afraid to retreat. In contrast to the previous point, another mistake players might make unconsciously is never retreating from their current position, even when it's no longer ideal to hold it anymore. Perhaps it might seem heroic to hold your ground and never fall back, but making a tactical retreat into a more defensible position, or where your teammates are holding, can be advantageous, whether it's to regen toughness or to have the breathing room to reload or quell. Falling back to an area you've cleared before is a perfectly fine move to make if it means you can secure a better position to control the situation unfolding. Knowing when you can hold and when you need to fall back will gradually develop your situational awareness about how you approach an encounter. Retreat and survive through the mission, or hold your ground and die trying. Number 8. Tunnel visioning in combat. Related to choosing the wrong target, tunnel visioning happens when you are so focused on the carnage happening in front of you, usually firing into an incoming horde, that you forget about your surroundings and other threats spawning around you. This mistake commonly happens when the team starts dumping rounds into enemies that are already being taken care of, like a flamer preacher or a purgator psyker burning down the horde. As they are doing that, there's no need to fire rounds or expend peril to try and help. Instead, keep your head on a swivel and listen out for special spawning around you. Be on overwatch for your team. Number 9. Not knowing the strengths and limitations of your class and loadout. While Darktide doesn't technically have any specific roles, depending on how you build your class with feats and weapons you choose, will decide what your job in a mission will be. Not doing the job you were built to do will handicap your team or place more pressure on another player to pick up your slack while doing theirs. At the same time, trying to do something you weren't designed to do not only makes it more difficult for yourself, but also deprives the team of having someone specialized at a specific thing, whether it's shooter management, special killer or horde breaker, focus on doing just that. This mistake is usually what causes Malice games to fall into chaos, when one person stops doing their job, whether it's their fault or not, and the group falls apart because those enemies that were supposed to be kept in check are now making it harder for other members of the team to do their job. Your purgator psyker can't keep the horde back if she keeps getting shot by shooters and shotgunners. Your las gun vet can't take shooters out if he keeps getting stabbed in the back. Simply knowing what your job is in a mission and allowing the rest of your team to do theirs makes Damnation runs feel like a walk in the park, even in pub games, so make sure to do the same for Malice as well. And number 10. Not willing to learn and grow. Darktide can be a hard game. Sometimes the AI director decides to freak out and endlessly throw enemies at you. Sometimes you enter an unfortunate situation, stuck between a demon host, a horde, and an advancing armor patrol. Wrong place, wrong time. But in every case, no matter if it's your fault or not, there's always an opportunity to learn how to do something better. Whether it's aiming a little better, taking a hit or two less, or maybe just being a better team player. As long as you're emerging from every mission, win or loss, a little better than you started, you'll be breaking through the Malice barrier in no time. It's when you refuse to acknowledge the mistakes you've made and then blame the team for your shortcomings that will keep you in this Malice trap. And here, you will rightly stay until you become better in skill and in attitude. And as you can see if you've made it this far into the video, there's quite a lot you can learn and improve on. We have now come to the end of the video. I hope that by identifying these common mistakes that players might make in their Malice games, you will be able to improve your own gameplay and break through the difficulty barrier with confidence. If you've enjoyed this video, consider giving a like and subscribing. I'll see you in the next one. Varlets.